Yeah, right.
I had a question before we
Let's
started.
first establish where we are up to, and then
Alright.
we'll. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we are few lines above the middle of the page. We'll start at the line. That begins with the word Atzmus Ein Sof Bo'ela. The line before that is Ranat. Okay. Where's everybody? Shoulders.
That's what we're not. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, so we discussed last time the words in the previous two lines where he says that the Hamshocha of Atzmus Ein Sof has to come through a Malek Olami in order that it should be an Oyer Pnimi. And we discussed this in what does it mean by Oyer Pnimi? And why is it Dafke from a Malek Olami? Yes, sure, what was your question?
We, up until now, like it introduced like the statement of the Eitz Chaim, the pre-Eitz Chaim, which alludes to the creation of the world being for one reason, and then the Rebbe goes and says, but we can't say it's for this reason, and he goes to explain it, and then he says, so we say that the reason is that he wanted Tachtoin. So, I mean, last class I didn't understand so well before, but like, what was like, now what's the direction? Is it, now that it's answered that, like, is it adding on to a further explanation of what that means, Tachtainim, or now it seems to go explain how that's accomplished? I wasn't like, I didn't follow it so well in general.
Okay.
Well, like, what's the direction it's going from there?
Okay, right. He gives a very general outline of the many Maimorim that are followed, what he's going to explain. And the outline is to put the words of the Medrash, Nishtoker HaKadosh Baruch Hu Livroisi, that Hashem had the desire to create the world, and Nisaba HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisro Diru B'Tachtein, to put that in perspective. Number one, what does it mean that it's a Diru B'Tachtein, briefly, and how is it accomplished? And how this approach, this point, answers all of our questions. Because we went through a long discussion for the reason and all that, and we showed that the reason is very reasonable, but it doesn't answer, it doesn't produce, doesn't give the ultimate answer, because there's something still left unexplained. In other words, it is true and it's accomplished, but it's not the full answer. And here he says, and this gives the full answer. And so he explained briefly where is it the full answer? It's a full answer because this explains the very bottom, the very lowest of the words. And it explains why there has to be a lowest word. Because since that there has to be a Gilui of Atzmus, Hamshochas of Atzmus, it has to be a lowest word. Because that can only be Nizgal in the lowest word. And it has to be Davke away from Pnimi. In other words, it should settle in the lowest world. Not there should be Gilui Atzmus. Gilui Atzmus is something which is already existent before in Atzmus itself. but it has to be Gilui means it should be nimshach in the world itself, within the parameters of the world. This is the point. Within the parameters of the world. Meaning that if you take something that is entirely worldly and has all the dimensions, all the parameters that define world, the limits of Mokim and Zman, and there is Gilui Atzmos. That's the ultimate purpose. And therefore it explains all the things that we touched before that were left hanging. That explains it. So this is, however, just a peek, just a brief, a quick glance of it. And now we're going to discuss this whole Inyan in a much broader and deeper manner. Okay. Right. And so we explained, if you would recall, take notes out, the Inyan, to explain the Inyan of oil. Huh? Oil, it should be oil pnimi, and also oil in seif. Oil in seif means that the oil itself is there, not through a keli. A keli kind of separates it from its source. Whereas when you have oil in seif, it represents the source itself. Doesn't need a keli. I want to add an additional explanation to this because it's very important that this should be very clear. There is the inyan of oil and keli. Keli is a worldly phenomenon. What does that mean, it's a worldly phenomenon? It means that the presence of a keli is something that world gives it existence. And I'll illustrate you the following thing. There's a halacha. There's a halacha in Shulchan Aruch. You know that Shabbos you're not allowed to carry from Shulchan Aruch to Shulchan Rabbim. And the issue of carrying Shulchan Aruch to Shulchan Rabbim has certain parameters. A crumb of bread is not carrying. You have to have a certain shear. That's considered carrying. That's number one. Number two, Shabbos, the Yisr of Shabbos has to be Melech's Machshavos, which means that you have to intend to do this Melacha. If the Melacha happens inadvertently, you didn't intend for it, then it's not the Melacha. Melech's Machshavos. So if somebody carries out soup in a plate, why is he carrying the plate? Because he needs the soup. Not because he needs the plate. Right? So the plate is called halachically bottle to the soup. It doesn't exist. It's bottle completely to the soup. This is the concept of a keli. In other words, the inyan that to us we see the plate as a separate entity. It's just a facade. It's not real. When is the keli a keli? When it has something in it. When it's used for what purpose it is. Otherwise, it's just a piece of glass. So if somebody brings out on Shabbos soup in a plate, and the reason in the soup there isn't a shear for the Yisur of Hitzah. The reason the amount that's necessary for them to be chayiv. But it's a beautiful plate. What's the deal?
Not carrying.
He's spotted. Even though he carried out the plate. But the plate is a non-entity. It's bottled to the soup. This is what the real truth is. The The real truth is that all the mitzias in the world is bottled to the oil that's mechayed. But we don't see it. What we see is we first see the mitzias. We see the keli. And from the perspective of the world, keli is a whole mitzias. On the contrary, how do we relate to things in the world? How do we relate? We first say, oh, there is a goof. Oh, the goof also has an neshama. Is it alive or is it not alive? But what do we see? What is the real thing is the goof. And when we think about it for 1 second, we see what a lie this is. The whole mitzvah of the goof is because it carries the neshama, and otherwise it doesn't exist. And after a while, when the neshama leaves the goof completely disintegrates. Because there's no value to it, no mitzvah. But nevertheless, from the worldly perspective, we see a keli as a real mitzvah. As a matter of fact, the only way we could see oil is if we see a keli. Then we have a keli in the world. Then that
the only way we can see or is if there's a keli?
Yeah, how do we see? We can only, it exists. Why do we say something exists? If it's bikeli, then we say, oh, it really has an effect in the world. It really affects, it's really there. That's what gives it reality. But if there would be Gilui Oirein Seif, Gilui Oirein Seif means that the oil itself becomes a reality without the keli. But you don't need the keli. Just like we say in the moshel of the soup. The soup is the reality. And the whole keli is bottled in the soup. It's a non-entity. You didn't carry anything. If there isn't the shir in the soup, you didn't carry anything. This is halachically, and the reason it is halachically because that's the truth. Because the keli is completely but there should be gilu yevin seif ba'ilom means that we should see how the oil it exists on its own, not because of the keli. And then when the oil exists on its own, not because of the keli, then the oil reveals itself to us, its source. Because what is the union of the oil? Oil reveals the moil. Just like we say the oil of the shemesh, what is its major accomplishment? It's not that it brings oil here, that it tells us that the sun is here.
That's not the purpose.
That is the purpose. But
to tell us that it's on here? I thought it's just to reflect rays.
Yeah. We once spoke about it. I don't know if I should go into it. In one of the classes, one of the general classes. If you remember, I explained there is oil, light, and there is yoim. Vayikra Elokim la'oir yoim. What is the meaning of Vayikra Elokim la'oir yoim? He gave it a name, which means that there are two things. There is the light, and light per se, we can have electric light, we can have candlelight, but day is a different concept. It's not just light. It's a period that separates from darkness. It's a period that says in this period there is no such thing as darkness. And this is the difference between candlelight, you can bring it up, candlelight and sunlight. The sun, when it was created on the fourth day, what does it say in the Torah? That the sun was created, among other things that it will serve, linshel by yom v'alayla, to rule the day and night, to define day and night, not light and dark, but day and night. What does day and night mean? That when you have a candlelight and you can see what you're reading, you don't say that over here it's day. You say over here it's light. But when the sun rises, you say it's day. What is the difference? The difference is that when the sun rises, it's not only that it's light, but there is no possibility for darkness. Because the source of light is here. If you only had light, so then underneath the light is dark. The light is pushing away the darkness. But if you have the luminary, then there is no darkness at all. The luminary transforms the whole thing to light. And this is the pshat, the oyer ein sof. The oyer ein sof is gala. It means you see directly, you have direct connection to the etzem. This is where it's coming from.
But the Kalim Lamaila, they don't have, like we said, that in truth the Kalim are brought to Matthias to the content. But down here we don't see that. Down here we see the Kalim Lamaila. It's not also that way because we don't see the Kalim Lamaila either.
No, we do see. Kalim at all levels. Surely it's not the same as Kalim over here. Over here this becomes Mamash Amitzias Gashmas. But Kalim at every level conceals the oil. Like we say in Atzilus, even it says, Ihu v'chayei echad, Ihu v'garmei echad. So it says, why does it say twice Ihu? It should have said, Ihu v'chayei v'garmei echad. Why do you say twice Chad? Because the Chad in Chayehi and the Chad in Garmeya is not the same. It's not the same level of Chad. The Keli always conceals the light. That's the function of the Keli. To make the light exist in this particular oilam, this particular world. Whereas when you say Gilui Ein Sof, then it's not dependent on world only, then it's the Gilui because of the Moir, not because of the oil. Just like the light of the sun exists here, not because you have the light in a keli. The reason that we have sunlight here is because the sun is here.
So the keli,
not because you have a keli.
I mean the keli, in order to relate the light to a certain world, whatever it is, right? But the Inso is regardless of worlds.
Right.
It's all the same all over. So it doesn't have to be adapted to the world.
That's right. It does like that.
Right. That's why it doesn't indicate it.
And it can be revealed in every world, even in the Gashmas Dikkim. On the contrary, the real revelation of that is in the Gashmas Dikkim.
We talked about it.
Yeah. Talked about many things. Talking about it again. All right. Okay, this is where I'm starting now. You have it? Zehu she'omar. Everybody has a place? Breishis. This is what the Medrash says. Breishis means Beis Reishis. Two Reishis. Yeah? I need the second, yeah. Zeu shoma breishis bishvil Yisrael shenikro reishis bishvil atira shenikras reishis. That the creation of the world was or is for the sake of Torah, that's called breishis, and it's for the sake of Yisrael, that are called reishis. Why? Because Shalidei Neshomas Yisrael v'Torah. Because through Neshomas Yisrael and Torah, Nimshach Tois v'Seiras ba'Elamis, there's additional Oira is brought down, revealed in worlds. And what is the additional world? Additional Oiras. What does additional Oiras mean? Additional to what?
The world was there in the Malcolm Pasuk
That's right.
beforehand.
Additional to what the oil that is related to the world itself. Additional. What's the addition? The addition is the Gil of Atzmos Eresel.
So, to accept this, Eretz is when there was a Malcolm, before there was a Malcolm Ponder, there was Or there. And that's what we said in the beginning. Before there was Malcolm Ponder, there was Or, and then it took it out. And it says, so why would you take it out just to fill it back in? It says, no, there's going to be more than there was there before. That's the additional light.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you say the one that relates to...
Oh no, here Tois V'Seiras means Tois V'Seiras in the world. Because afterwards there was a Kav. and the Kav is Nimshach in the world, and this is the light that pertains to the world. And then there is Tois V'Sevis. In the world there is Tois V'Sevis.
But
What
it's
is
not soil.
Huh?
It's higher than soil.
Higher than Seif.
Okay.
Because in the Kav there is Seif and Malu together. And this is higher than the whole Inyan. Because what is the Tois V'Sevis? Bechinas Atzmus Ein Soif. The Inyan of Atzmus Ein Soif becomes Nisgala through the power, the koyach of Torah and mitzvahs that Eden do. It has to be both. Lavke Eden doing Torah and mitzvahs. V'ho'inyan hu. The inyan in this is Hine alidei Torah mitzvahs mamshichin. Because through Torah mitzvahs we are mamshich hamshoch hasein soy bo'el. The oil in soy in the world. Ukmayme, and as we say, l'shem yichud kudsha brihu shchinte. That when we do a mitzvah, we say that we're doing it for the sake and the name yichud kudsha brihu shchinte, to unite kudsha brihu and shchinte. What is kudsha brihu and shchinte? Kutchabriyo means Hashem, and Shchinte means the world, the Shechina. Shechina means Shechenas, that it rests in the world. Shalidei call mitzvah, which means because through every mitzvah, Nase bechinas yichud kutchabriyo b'nei tzoli, through every mitzvah that comes the result of the unification, uniting of kutchabriyo. But the Ne'atzolim and Yivroim. Ne'atzolim and Yivroim are basically, in terms, in the context of what we're talking about, it's the same thing. And Ne'atzolim is called the higher creations in the world of Atzilus, and Yivroim is that which is in Biyah. V'chol hamshoch hasoirin soiv bo'elam es Abiyah. All and any hamshoch of oirin soiv into the worlds, of all four worlds, Atzilus, Bri, Yitzir, Asiyah. Tolui Bekim HaMitzvahs is actually dependent on the fulfilling of mitzvahs. Ukmei Shekosov, as the Pasuk says, Im Chokois Haitein Leichu. If you do the mitzvah, Im Chokois Haitein Leichu, V'nosati Gishmeichem Be'itom Nosno Oretz Ivula, I will produce the rain, and the earth will produce its produce. Veis HaSodeh, and the trees from the field will produce. Similarly, in Krishna we say, if you will listen to the mitzvahs, I will give you rain. And it's known in the Sforim from Tzivul Kabbalah, the calls them moire alam shochos ruchni, that these inyonim of the produce and the fruit and all that, this is and the rain, this points and it refers to Hamshochas Ruchnim, spiritual Hamshochas, Meyer Yisef Hamatzil, from Yisef, from the source, Bo'elam Asabiyah. Bo'elam Asabiyah in the world.
Just to say that we're here talking only about bringing oil and soil to the world. What about regular things, like for example the normal rain and other things, whatever, like what the world lives? If it goes to the oil also can do that also. And by us, it's different aspect of our oil.
It's a different, right. The normal process we're going to see later. The normal process of the world, the natural process of the world, is guaranteed just by the world conducting itself within the worldly context, a normal and a just way. Then it's a normal process. This is. Go ahead.
Yes. Are you in the middle of explaining?
No, that's okay.
Question is like this. You're saying there's a saying that if there would not be 600,000 Eden for the Torah mitzvahs, the world wouldn't be existing at any given time. Because after Matan Teres, how can we even say that what if Eden wouldn't do Torah mitzvahs, how would the world survive? And this question is not shy. Because if Eden would not be within Torah mitzvahs, there would be no world.
No, but we're saying it's something else. We're saying that this Torah mitzvah is for the sake of bringing down Oyer in Soif, which means that survival of the world is not dependent on it.
So how,
This is Toys for Savers.
how do we reconcile the fact that since Matan Torah was given, before that the world existed on the, like, so on the, learn I think in a different mind, I don't know exactly, I think I was
Yeah.
the world existing on the condition that the Torah would be accepted. Otherwise, there'd be no reason for existing of the world. So how can we say
No reason is true. No reason is true because the whole creation of the world is Bishvil HaTorah, Bishvil Yisrael. But there is also, as we're going to see now, we're going to see that Hashem made a covenant with the world. Besides making a covenant with Eden, Hashem made a covenant with the world.
So if hypothetically there'd be now even go to moon right now, all the Jews move to moon. And the Torah means that this world will still be existing. I mean, not to moon, to different dimensions,
Mars.
different world. It's a different world.
Right.
But this world is still existing?
When we say the world survival, we mean the entire universe.
The entire universe. If Jews would be, for
The
example,
entire universe, everything in the universe is necessary for the survival of this earth. Everything in the universe, every less star,
right,
every less planet,
it's another question.
everything is interdependent for the existence of the physical world, of this earth.
So where the Jews take a break for one day. That's a short to say it, but it's hypothetically. Would the world be existing this one day? Or because it seems to say the reason why I'm asking the question is not a hypothetical question. Question is like this: we're saying that it's by doing Torah mitzvahs bring additional light, the surface Torahs. How is it the surface? Then means that we're negating the fact that by the virtue of our doing Torah mitzvahs, they won't exist. So we're saying that it's only by the Torah mitzvahs we only bring additional light. So the world will exist anyway.
I told you, we're going to say that there is a covenant with the world also. Besides the covenant with Eden, the Rebbe made a covenant with Noach for the existence, for the basic existence of the world. But it's not a real existence, an existence that the Rebbe doesn't want, just there.
There was before Matan Torah. But it never changed things around.
Give yourself a chance.
Okay.
Thank you. L'choire in a move on. However, it would seem questionable. Lo motole kozeh. Why is all of this, meaning the rain and the subsistence and the produce producing and so forth? Why is all of this dependent? B'kiyum atero mitzvahs, in the fulfilling of Torah mitzvahs, v'haloi kvar bris krus. But isn't it that there was already an earlier bris that was established? B'mei hamabel, in the time of the Mabel, the Mare HaKeshes, and the Mare HaKeshes, the appearance of the rainbow that represents and attests to this bris. She'omar, where Hashem said, Uri Yisio, I will see the Mare, the Keshes, Lizker bris olam, and to remember the bris olam, the everlasting covenant. The Hainu, which means in simple terms, that there will be a continuous subsistence for the sake of giving sustenance to the world. Min ha'matzil elyon, coming from the matzil elyon, from Hashem. Mereish kol dargin, the Atzilus, from the highest of all madregas of Atzilus, Ad Soif Kol Dargin Dibiyah, till the lowest of all madregis of Biyah, Bri Yitzir Asiyah, which is the lowest of all madregis? By B'olam Hazeh Agashmi, in this physical world. And this is what the Pasuk says, this covenant with Noah is what the Pasuk refers to when it says, Oid kolimei ha'oretz, that it will the all the days of the earth of the earth will continue. Zera v'kotzir, the various periods and seasons of the world, whether it is a season of seeding or a season of harvesting, kayetz v'cherev, summer or winter, yom v'layla, day and night, lo yishbois, they will never cease, will never cease to go in their proper cycle. V'im kein, and thus, it's impossible that Chas v'sholom, this covenant should be broken ever. Gam bilti kiyom ha-mitzvahs, Chas v'sholom. Even if Chas v'sholom there weren't the kiyom ha-mitzvahs. V'lama omar im b'chokoyset eleich. So why did it say that it's dependent on chokoyset eleich? But the inyan is v'zeh vada. This is clear and certain. It's impossible that it should come to a point of total nullification, non-existence, amshochas, or ruchnius bo'elomes, that they should cease completely the amshocha of the ruchnius, of chayas into the world, beseder hishtalshelus, that which comes in the organized form of hishtalshelus, that fits perfectly into the contours and the parameters of world, the abiyah of the world of Atzilus B'Yitziasi. Machmas Krisas Bris Hanal, because of this Krisas Bris that took place at the time of the Mabul. Avo, however, Mikol Mokoim, nonetheless, Tzrichim L'Kiyum HaMitzvahs. We also need Kiyum HaMitzvahs. Why do we need Kiyum HaMitzvahs? Lefi, because Shekol B'chinas HaMshocha V'Shefa Shenimshach Me'amatzil V'Aladei Mesabiyah, because this shefa, this sustenance that comes from the source into the world, it comes only rag b'bchinas tzimtzum. It comes only in the form of a tzimtzum, in a very narrow and restricted manner. B'bchinas mida v'shiyur. The chayes itself is very limited and measured. Rag, which means, what is a shear? The shear is only that it gives sustenance, chayus v'kiyum o'elam levad. The chayus that gives the world an ability to persist and to continue to exist. Kiyum. Subsistence at the level where it's at. Repetitive. Day in, day out, the same thing. Kiyum, just to continue to exist. Api Maimar Kav Hamida. According, Alpi means on the basis and by decree, by the decree of Maimar, of the statement of Kav Hamida, of the measuring stick. Kav Hamida means the measuring stick, the measuring yard. What's made Kav Hamida according to how much it's necessary, not a bit more. Avo, but kidei sheyiyeh nimshach toisves oir, but so that there will be nimshach, additional oir, v'shafach hadosha, and a new level of sustenance. Yoisin mikfi hamida haktuva, more than the established and pre-measured. Tshuva means pre-measured level. Shehuzdom mikvar b'seder hishtalshus, that was established. Huzdom loshen yisoid, that was founded from before the Seder HaYishtalshelus in the order of chaining, Mitzad Krisas Bris Hanal, that was established on the basis of the Bris Mitnoyach, in order to get additional Hamshocha, Zeu Davke Alei Kiyum Teiro Mitzvahs. This is only through Teiro Mitzvahs. Ve'al Zeh Omar, and this is what the Pasuk is referring to when it says, Im Chokoisei Teileichu V'nosati, that if you follow the Torah, then V'nosati, then I'll give you rain. Rain cannot stop altogether, because that's established by rule of the existence of the world. So when it says V'chokoisei Teileichu V'nosati, means that this is talking about additional hashpah in the world. And that's why he explained, that's why we said that this refers to Inyanim Ruchni. The Azai, because then, as a result of keeping Torah, Yumshach Oir Chodesh, comes a new oil. They say a new oil means an oil that was not ever in the world before. The Toisves Meruba Al Ho'ikr. And this addition, the addition is of a different, it's a different kind of oil, it's a new type of oil. And because it's a different kind of oil, such that in the original establishment of the world did not come into the world. The reason it didn't come into the world, because it was too great for the world. So therefore, when you say that there's an additional oil, the addition is greater than the original. Normally, when you have a salary, and you have a raise in salary, so the raise is a percentage of your salary. It cannot be that the raise should be greater than the salary. The raise is based on the salary, and it's a percentage of the salary. You get 5%, 10%. If you're lucky, you get 15%. You should know about that. But so it's based on the salary. But here we say it's a toisvis because it's an oil chodesh, which means it's a novel approach completely. When one goes from being a plain soldier to becoming a general, so that's not an additional; it's a new entity. This is pshat that this oil chodesh is transformed. It's a new type of world that didn't exist a minute ago. As a result of Torah mitzvahs, it becomes a new kind of world, and therefore the Toisves is meruba alo yiker, is greater than the original, than the principle shekvar husad, which was already established at Piseder Ishtalshus, on the basis of the Ishtalshus.
So, according to Ishtalshus, it's not Orein Seif. It's being this kav midah.
Right.
It's giving that's not Orein Seif.
That's right. Orein Seif is not Nizgal in the world.
So when it says here that what did it say? Look, order we don't understand, right? And we move on. If not understand, it seems to be implying that you might come to think that this Orein Seif is already in. If you know that Orein Seif is not in the world, then when it says in through Torah mitzvahs, the drawing down of Orein Seif is dependent on Torah mitzvahs.
Right.
So to not understand it, you'd have to assume that there was already Orein Seif in the world without Torah mitzvahs, and therefore, how can we say that it's dependent on Torah mitzvahs?
No. In the movement, he explains that this. Ulechoyra in the movement, really, ulechoyra, this vav probably should have been a dalet, because it's not a question on what we said. It's an explanation of what we said. We said that v'hoyim shomeyat yishmiyu v'nosati yishmeichem beyitom, that this is talking about ruchnis dikyoiris, not the gashmis, not the simple gashmis. And why do we say that? What's the proof? What's the basis for saying that? Because biluchoyre in the movement, because it would seem hard to understand why is the rain and the sustenance of the world dependent on Torah mitzvahs. Why should it be dependent on that? There's a covenant with Noach, with the whole world, that it should continue on. So why does it need that? That was the question. And the answer is that this is talking about what we said just before that, talking about the insight. You understand?
Yeah.
It's a simple clarification. I believe that this is probably some kind of a typo, because it should be dilachoid. V'zehu kol inyan ha-mitzvos. And this, in fact, is the whole thing of mitzvahs. The whole purpose of mitzvahs. Laham shir bechinas tois v'soiris davke bo'elamayis. To bring down and to reveal the inyan, bechinas, of that which is addition to the mitzvahs of the world. Not the way the world is in and of itself, but that which is in addition to the mitzvahs of the world. Tois v'soiris. In one of the talks that I gave over here, I think in the talk I explained Shavuos. I explained that there was in the creation there was 6 days of creation on Shabbos. So the first 6 days, up until the creation of Adam Rishon, there was a world. And everything existed in the world except for Adam Rishon. This, everything that existed in the world, each thing existed for its own sake. The trees produced fruit, but what's the point of the fruit? It's just that the tree is able to produce fruit. It's actually reproducing itself. That's like the scientists say, that the whole thing that the tree produces fruit is because it wants to produce seed to reproduce itself. And the same thing goes for everything else. Every animal was living for its own mitzvahs, for its own existence. Then came Adam Rishon. And when Adam was created, there's in addition to creating Adam Rishon, there is another maimer in the Torah, another saying. It says Vayomer. This is part of the creation, part of the 10 Vayomers. That Hashem said that I'm giving you to Adam everything that I created. So we explained then that this is a new stage in the creation. And Hashem said to Adam, I'm giving you everything I created. It became a different world. Not the same world at all. Before, everything was for its own sake and had no real united purpose, a higher purpose for its existence. After Hashem said, I'm giving you the whole world, then everything became united. Now it's a totally different definition. A tree is not a tree. Abhema is not Abhema. It's sustenance and service to all the rubbish. It's a different definition, new creation. So this gave the world a higher level, a higher perspective. It had a meaning to the world. What is the meaning? That everything in the world serves Adam. It serves a human being, which is the king of the world. There's a king in the world. It's a different structure completely. It's not a hefker. But it still was a structure within the context of world. Adam was the king of the world, and everything belongs to him. It's still a structure that within the context of the world. Then by Matan Torah, there was a new level of creation, where the world now belonged to Hashem. Now it's because of Torah there was a Gilui Elokus in the world, and now everything was representing not just worldliness, but represented through Yidden. It represented Hashem himself. It's a new level.
I think you mentioned the Mabul then. You mentioned space
By Mabul, yeah, because by Mabul there was that the living, that the animals also were
They
given.
became subjugated.
Yeah. The animals also were given to Noach. Yeah, yes, it's true. But this is all still part of the same level in general speaking. Still within the context
It
of
was
the
out
world.
of Shem in the world.
Yes, and then by Torah it was a completely new concept, new definition of world.
You said also it happened through the Jewish people becoming nothing in Egypt. Because that's just how they became representative of Hashem.
That's right. Okay, so that's right. That's very good. I'm very, very happy that something that you remember this. So this is what he's been learning now. That the Torah mitzvahs is a new world. It's not the same world. And it says through Torah mitzvahs there is that you have a world that's not an accomplishment that we had before.
So in the Hashem in the world.
Now it's a different world completely. Hashem in the world. The world belongs to Hashem, not just hypothetically, because Hashem created it, but because Hashem is here, and the world is now revealing and recognizing the kingdom of Hashem. Just like before in the sixth day, we recognize the kingdom of Odom Harishon, then we recognize the kingdom of Hashem. This is what's accomplished. It's new definition completely. This is Tosfos saying. And the reason I mentioned this whole thing is that you should understand what's meant Tosfos saying this. Because there we can readily see, we can relate to it. We can see that a world without Odom is a meaningless world. What is it? It's just a physical cycle, totally meaningless. Even though after Odom Harishon was created and everything was given to him, the tree remained the same tree, the apple is the same apple, the behemoth is the same behemoth, nothing changed. But there's something additional to its value, and this additional value supersedes everything that was before, much greater than was before. Not as an addition, but it completely supersedes whatever it was before. Ukmeisha Kosu, I just want to finish the singing. Ukmeisha Kosu, as the Pasuk says, Vayanicheyu began Eden liovdo l'shomro, that Hashem created Odom, and He placed him in Gan Eden. And the Pasuk says that He placed him in Gan Eden liovdo l'shomro, to till it, to work it, and l'shomro, and to guard it. So the Gemara says, liovdo zuramach mitzvasei. That refers to, that's the mitzvah say, and the shomro, this is shasam mitzvah leisasa. The mashma, which is saying that idei ramach mitzvah say, that through the process of mitzvah say, nimsha bechinas toisves oiris, there's the aspect of toisves oiris, a new and a different type of oir, it comes bechinas oir chodosh, as a new oil, Tomid, constantly, the Gan Eden Ho'eli, in the Gan Eden. V'hainu pirush lo'ovdo, and this is the meaning of the word lo'ovdo, La'ovda means avoidas hagam. Hagam. The labor, the work in the Gan. What is work in the Gan? Ki hagam sha'Gan Eden kvar nivra yesh miyayin. That although the Gan Eden was already created before into a Metzius, it was there. Kosu, as the Pasuk says before that, Vayita Hashem Elikim Gam be'Eden Miked. That Hashem planted a Gan. But Zehu b'bchinas ho'er ve'agilu the Seder Ishtalshus. This Gan that Hashem created was still a Gan that is within the parameters and limitations of world. If it is limitations of world, so what's the difference between the rest of the world and the Gan? And nevertheless, there was a difference. Eloshe began Neiden Ne'emar, except that in Gan Eden it says Shem Molech. It says the full name of Hashem. Hashem Elikim, not just Elikim. Lefishe began Eden, because in the Gan Eden Meir Gilui Oir Elyon, there's a higher oil, Mimasha Meir Behoilo, than the oil that's Meir in the world. So even though that it is a higher oil that's than Meir in the world, it's still an oil that is within the limitations of Seder Ishtalshus.
When it says through the meats, this light is shining there.
No. This is, the Gan Eden was created before.
I understand, but he said through us doing Ramach, means to say Nimshot, Bechinos, say Soyot. The Gan Eden oil.
Right.
Oil fodder.
Go ahead.
What does it mean?
Go ahead, weiter. So weiter.
Behind, when the Pirish Law do Rishon, the older. About the older is a Gan.
Right. Continue.
Gan Shaganin Kvar Niver.
Oh, this is what we're talking about. The Gan Eden that was originally created before Adam Rishon started working in it.
Right, of course.
And that Gan Eden is also higher than plain world.
But through the working, it's a new show.
It's a totally different. It's totally different thing. The Gan Eden that was originally created is also higher than the world because it says Hashem Elikim Molech.
Tom, we do mitzvahs constantly.
No. What?
What Tomet goes for? That we do mitzvahs constantly, and the light is drawn down to the Eden constantly.
Right. That's L'Ovda.
Yeah.
But without L'Ovda,
Yeah, it's still higher than the world.
it's still higher than the world.
Right,
But not this Oir Chodesh, not this higher level that comes through the Ovda.
Is it the same statement?
Is it revealed there? We draw the same Soros here too, but we don't see it. Is it seen in Gan Eden? The Atzim Soros is shining in Gan Eden or not? Until Mashiach comes or whatever. Do they get more than
They get, there is Toshva Soros in the higher worlds throughout Avodah,
Right.
but not the Inyan from Atzmus. Atzmus will be revealed only here. They have additional Oiris, but not the Inyan from Atzmus.
I just don't know where.
After all, you're the one who is doing it, so you deserve to be the first one to be paid.
This statement here about Gan Eden that it existed before, so is it posing the same thing that we had with above, that
That's right.
that the earth exists, so the same thing you could say that without the Veda of Torah mitzvahs down here, it also exists by a Kav Midah.
Right.
You know, only what it needs. And then
But it's a higher level than
it's a higher level than we are, but it's still only higher according to what it needs.
That's right. Seder Ishtalshus.
And then, so the Tosefos Oros that we draw into Gan Eden are of a different nature than that being drawn. It's not like some get, like they both come from the same place and some get stuck with. It's a different light. Into Gan Eden, they get it. It's not. You said that we draw Orein Seif into this world by Torah and mitzvahs, which that's called the Tosefos Oros. But in Gan Eden,
Ultimately,
it's a
this
different
whole
Tosefos
world is going to be the Gan Eden. At first, it's Nimshach there, and then it's Nimshach here. But as I said, the real Gilui will come here.
All right.
Zev, you have the question? No. Okay, thank you.
So